Welcome back to Let's Make a Game, a channel about making computer role-playing games using the free program Twine and the Sugarcube format for Twine. In this video, I would like to continue talking about making first-person graphics. So in my previous video, when we left off, the screen looked basically like what it looks like here. We had this series of what are going to be sort of guidelines showing where the different blocks will be if they're present. Now, they were in lots of layers, several layers, but I've combined them into a single layer because we're actually not going to end up putting any of those lines in the final artwork. We're going to just use what we've done so far as a guide. So I've got that here. I've also got several new layers, but I'm going to discuss that as we go. So we've got this layer, and I turned several layers into one using the merge down option. If you right-click on a layer and the layer, if it and the layer below it are both visible, meaning this eye icon is on and it's showing on the screen, then this won't be grayed out, and you can click on that and it'll turn the two layers into one. So you do that with several layers, turn it into a single layer. Now we're going to need to change the color, and the reason we're going to need to change the color is because we're going to be drawing new stuff in black, and it'll be a bit confusing if we have both black lines and a black guide. So we need them to be two different colors. It doesn't matter what color we turn it into, but the easiest way to change a color quickly, I've found, is to go colors invert, and then it turns it into the opposite. So it turns it into white. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create individual layers, and each layer is going to be a particular block that might be present. So I've actually already done them, but I'll give you an example of how I would do it. Let's say we do a new layer, and we'll call it choose that it is transparent. And let's say we wanted to do the block that is forward and to the left of the observer. So because we've got these guidelines, we know where that would be. It would start there, and then we would press Shift to draw a straight line to there, and then we'd keep pressing Shift to complete the parallelogram. Is that what that's called? A parallelogram? I think it is, yeah. And then we need these horizontal lines that are here. So if we turn the guide off, it's easy to see that is the outline of the block that is one step forward and one step to the left. If that block was present, that is the lines that would delineate it. And so we need to do that with every block that might appear on the in our field of vision. And there's slightly fewer of them than there are in the original artwork that I used. The original artwork has some that are two spaces to the right or to the left that might be visible, but in this case there aren't. There are 8 that are visible or potentially visible. We have one to the left, one to the right, one directly in front of us, 2 that are to the front and to the right and to the front and to the left, one that's 2 squares forward, and then 2 that are 2 squares forward and one to the right or one to the left. And those are the ones we've chosen to make possibly visible. Now, of course, we could always keep going forward. We could have a third row forward or a fourth or a fifth, but we have to sort of stop at some point. And just for the purposes of a demonstration, I've decided to stop after 2, so to make it as really as small as possible, I suppose. And so if we do that for all 8, we'll have, once we turn the guide off, we'll have 8 different layers, each of which is a specific square. Now, you might notice that it can be a pixel off compared to the guide, as in this layer here doesn't exactly fit under these new layers. There's these little white pixels you can probably see here where the line has gone a slightly different way. That doesn't matter, because this guide, as I say, that's not going to appear in any artwork. Only these new layers that we're making in this video are going to appear in the artwork. So it's fine if you get these little dots, as long as the intersections are in the right place. That's the important thing, and as long as you've got a straight line between them. And the other thing you have to worry about is the order in which the layers appear. You can change the order by clicking on something, left clicking, and then moving it up or down. And I'll give you an example of why order is important. Let's look at, say, let's look at these two. So we have the one that is forward and to the right, and the one that is 2 spaces forward and to the right. Now, I've labelled them using L, R, and F. So L means 1 to the left, FR means 1 forward and 1 to the right, FFR means 2 forward and 1 to the right. Obviously, if you find another naming scheme more instinctively understandable, please use that, because these names aren't going to appear in the final product. They're just for your reference. But this is what I find most understandable. All right, but getting back to what I was saying, let's say these were filled in. So let's say the one that's forward and to the right, and we'll just flood fill it with a single thing. We're going to make a slightly better picture than that, but let's say we had, this one was yellow, and the one that was FFR, we'll turn this off. Let's say the one that was FFR, let's say that was blue instead. So let's say that FFR was ahead of FR. Well, you can see that what you're seeing doesn't make any sense, because this block, this rectangle here, should be hidden by the fact that this block is here, because if this was a real scene, the yellow block would be in between this rectangle and the viewer. So that doesn't make any sense. We have to have it as it was. We have to have FFR behind FR, and of course there's lots of other similar things that we have to have. So specifically, what we have to have is as follows. We have L, R, and F. So the one to the left, the one to the right, and the one directly ahead. They can be in any order within themselves because they don't overlap each other, but they have to be the top 3 layers, which means that they're the ones that, the way that GIMP works is that the layers that are higher cover the layers that are lower. That's what the order of it means. So L, R, and F need to be at the front, and then FR, FL, and FF need to be the next set, and again they can be in any order within themselves. And then finally FFR and FFL need to be at the very back. So and again they can be in either order because of course they don't overlap with each other. So once we've got those in any order, actually let's just get rid of what we've done so that we don't, come on, oh boy. Sorry, there we go. All right, So now we've got these separate layers. We've got everything in the right order. What are we going to do next? Well, we could do things in a few different orders, but what we're going to need, you can see that, back to this guide, you can see that we've got this block here that represents sort of darkness. This is the point beyond which we're not bothering to draw anything as yet. But we are going to need to know where the exact center of the picture is, because we're going to be drawing some lines, not in this video, but in a future video. We're going to be drawing some lines, some perspective lines that disappear into this vanishing point. And so therefore we need to know where the exact center is. So what we might do is do that. So in fact, we might want to zoom in a little bit to make sure that we get the right pixels. So I'll just Shift and plus. So we click there, do a straight line there, click there, do a straight line there, and you can see that the lines overlap at a single point. And so that makes it easier if we want to draw perspective lines. We can go click in that center one and then go to wherever we want to go, and that will allow us to draw those lines and have it make sense. All right, but we won't be drawing those lines yet, but we'll just do that X next. So the next thing that I've decided to do, I mean, it's fairly arbitrary. We could decide to do to draw the details of the walls, but I've decided to do maybe the floor and the ceiling next. So let's do that. So the first thing we need to do is we need to know where's the floor going to go up to, because the floor it's obviously going to be sort of around here, but it's only going to go up as high as this arbitrary line of darkness. So we need to extend this rectangle, and I've actually done that in another layer already. But the way that you do it is you get the select tool and you select right to the edge, and you select the same height as the existing rectangle. And then once you've got that, you can fill it in using the bucket. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Or you could, I suppose you could scrub it in by hand if you wanted to. But either way, we extend this darkness to either side. And the reason for that is so we know where to draw the floor up to, and next video when we start on the ceiling, where we draw the ceiling down to. So I have got a background already, but I'll show you the background. And it's not great. I'm not a great artist. I don't claim to be. I always use other people's art if I can. I did this because I think it's sort of important to show people how it's done. But I'll tell you what I did. Okay, this is just two colors. This could be, done a lot more elaborately, but for what it's worth, I picked this blue. I just liked the look of it. There's nothing really scientific about it, just a sort of tertiary blue. And I created a new layer, which I called background. And I noticed that I've misnamed this layer brick lines. The reason for that is I was going to do this in a slightly different way, and I ended up probably should be called darkness to be more meaningful. All right, so I filled it in with that blue, and then I chose a sort of lichen-y looking green, and I drew this cobblestone-y sort of pattern, and I tried to make the cobblestones smaller as I got higher. So you can notice that this one's quite large, this one's quite large. As we go up here, they're getting sort of medium-sized, and then up here they're very, very small. And that's kind of a certain amount of perspective. You can see that this one, the cobblestones are big, then they're medium, and then they're small. It's not it's not quite correct perspective, I guess, but it at least sort of pays lip service to the idea of perspective. What I'm trying to evoke there is, I guess, kind of a floor of cobblestones with maybe moss or something growing in between them. I guess that's what that is. And the important thing to remember is to make them big down the bottom and sort of try and get smaller as you go up, so that there's a certain amount of a certain sort of perspective effect. And that, I think, is where we will leave it today. We have a background, we have a sort of band of darkness, we have an empty space which is going to be the ceiling, and most importantly we have these guidelines for each individual block, and we're going to do the artwork for each one individually, and we have the central point marked so that we can do perspective lines, because I'm probably going to do a sort of brickwork effect, and so that will need, if we want that to be consistent, we're going to need perspective lines. But I might leave it there. I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.